Welcome to Anime T23, where we dive deep into the most intriguing what-I scenarios in the anime universe. In today's episode, we explore a world where Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha teleport into My Hero Academia universe to protect this verse. Join us we uncover how Naruto and Sasuke protect My Hero Academia universe. What if Naruto and Sasuke teleport in My Hero Academia Part 2? UA's totally crushed now. You'll never escape, Yo said as his classmates moved to attack. Naruto, Izuku and Achiko had their backs on each other. Watch each other's backs, Izuku said as they deflected each attack and guarded the other's targets. Yo, this is starting to get annoying, Shirchi said staring pointedly at Naruto. As long as that guy's here, we're never going to get their targets. The vibration quirk boy only smirked. Then fine, I guess I don't have too much of a choice. He crouched to the ground and Itajiro frowned at his actions. The terrain's already unsettled. If you do it, it will get us too. You won't be able to control it. Fine by me, as long as we get each of them alone. He gazed at Naruto. Besides, it's not like we know anything about that guy's quirk. He might become an impossible wall to overcome. Itajiro just sighed in defeat and braced himself. Before Naruto could point out what was happening, the earth shook violently again, tossing Izuku and Achiko away from his side. Since he had focused chakra under his feet, the tremors had not been able to unsettle his footing, but it cost the loss of his teammates. He took one good look around and saw that their attackers had also been swept away. He scoffed. It had really been long since he saw that kind of self-sacrificial attack. Now to find them. Since he couldn't sense chakra here, even in Toad's Sage mode, he'd just have to trust his ninja instincts. Shoto had felt the ground in the factory shake lightly at the tremors from Yo's attack. An earthquake? He thought, and then shook his head. Aya, it's just someone's quirk. He continued on his way. Yo's last attack had really shaken the battlefield to the point that students from other terrains felt the impact. A lot of students who kept fretting over it were not on luck's side either. The wind suddenly picked up and grew even stronger, forcing the balls out of their hands. I love this. A voice boomed at them. They raised their heads to see a huge boy in a reddish-brown battlesuit with a huge cape. It didn't take them long to realize that he was the one causing the whirlwind. The excited grin on his face gleamed in the sun. Inasa looked down at them. All of you fight so passionately. I love passion. Their balls were now spinning along with the whirlwind all around him. Please let me extend my own passion to you. He bowed with so much energy, causing his whirlwind to fire the balls at the students below, as a result, hitting all their targets. Mera, who was already battling with his eyelids, shot up in his seat once he heard an alert. Oh, someone's already passed. Let's see how many minus 120. He nearly fell from his seat, and his tired eyes widened. One person took out 120 students. I wanted to fall asleep before, but this woke me right up. Yes, I won. Inasa cheered to himself. 120 students already taken out, Shoto said to himself as he remained hidden. I wonder who could have been able to do that. However, the slot is already taken in 23 victors, which means I can't stay hiding here. He rose to his feet and started to move, keeping his senses open as the area he threaded was suspiciously quiet. Just as he predicted, a ball was thrown at him, and he reacted quickly, burning it down before it could reach him. He looked up at his assaulters. They were students from Seijin High School. All 10 of them stood atop, glaring down at him. Todoroki Shoto, what a pleasure to see you out here, alone. One wearing red said in a menacing tone. You're quite confident. Even though he's confident, he should know acting alone is very dangerous. One in green scoffed. It's 10-1. You know who has the edge here, right? One in blue chuckled darkly. Shoto scoffed. I'm just glad you guys saved me the trouble of looking for you. The students growled. Why, you little? They leaped towards him, hurling their balls at his targets, but he blocked it effortlessly before freezing them. Did you really watch the sports festival? He deadpanned. Yeah. The red one said calmly, flipping a bolt screw up and down his hand before he casually threw it at Shoto. We did. Shoto watched as the bolt screw grew rapidly in size, shattering his ice. He shot fire at it, but it didn't melt, so he dodged it the best he did. It didn't melt. That's because it's not ordinary metal. It's tungsten, and it's known to survive high temperatures. Red eagerly tossed the bolt at him after he freed his classmates. Together, they fought Shoto, keeping him constantly on defense. These guys, they have a counter for all my attacks. His fire was being held back by a mixture of water and mud, and he didn't see the huge tungsten bolt coming his way on time. He braced for impact, but instead of getting smashed into the ground, a flash of blue light and the sound of a screeching eagle was all he sensed before opening his eyes. Uchiha. Before him stood Sasuke Uchiha, his back facing him and blue lightning crackling all over his body. If what he said is true, then this should help, Sasuke said, running black flames down his sword before slicing the piece of metal in two, shocking the students. How? In the blink of an eye, Shoto and Sasuke disappeared in a blue flash of lightning. Sasuke stood straight and turned to look at Shoto. It looks like you're fine. Shoto nodded and watched Sasuke stare at the students with a hint of amusement in his eyes. What's wrong? It's nothing. Sasuke looked away, shaking his head, though he was quite amused at the fact that they dressed like ninja. What an irony! He was going to fight against his own kind. You decided to fight alone. Sasuke chided-ish. I knew you'd follow me. Shoto said simply. So, what's the plan now? Because unfortunately, they know all about my quirk. I thought you were smarter than this. Sasuke fired at him. Aren't you the same person who figured out how to stop me while using my Sharingan? And yet, you only knew the basics of my Sharingan's power. I failed. I wouldn't say that back at home. I only use the Amaterasu when I face a very powerful foe, and I rarely see any. The only time I use it on the weak is when I wish to torture someone into answering my questions. Sasuke smirked. And you know very well, I wasn't trying to torture you. Shoto processed everything Sasuke had just told him and sighed. He remembered his dad, his impassive face staring down at him. Nodding, he clenched his fists. I have an idea, he said, and looked above him. The Public Safety Commission must have set up this place like a factory for a reason. Ah, I see. You plan on using your environment to your advantage. Yes, but I will very much require your help. But you will have to tell me all about your quirk. Sasuke nodded in understanding. No problem. Let's just get this over with. Where have they gone? One asked as they searched frantically for Shoto and Sasuke, but still keeping their guard up. I see him. Shoto was seen running on the top of the cylindrical tanks in the factory. The students didn't hesitate to give him a chase. What a fool. Look at you, all alone again. I bet he chased the other guy away. You're so dumb. That one would have given us trouble for sure. Their cackle stopped abruptly once they heard Shoto sigh. Can you just hurry up and loose? I'm tired of standing. You and that smart mouth of yours. Shoto did a backflip off the tanks and created an ice wall once he landed. You fool. They leaped after him, destroying the wall with the bolts. Red charged another bolt at Shoto with a sinister smile. However, his smile faltered once he saw the ice-hot boy smirk. His tungsten bolt disappeared, and Sasuke appeared in its place. Nanny? The answer to his question was a hard kick from Sasuke that knocked him out cold. Where's the bolt? Sasuke pointed up at the tanks behind them. The bolt had successfully marred the tank, releasing water right out of it and onto the ninja students. Up next, Shoto froze them along with the water. Without their leader, they won't get rid of the ice so easily. What kind of quirk is that? One shrieked at Sasuke. The Uchiha just brought out his ball and bumped it on the ninja's target. That's for me to know and you not to know. Sorry, but we need to pass. Shoto said flatly. Yes. 2 more making it 56. Only a little more left, Mera said through the intercom as Sasuke and Shoto left to go to the anteroom. Shoji's extending arms morph into eyes and ears as he added to the attentive strength of the group. He, Jiro, Tsuyu, and Momo threaded alone in a quiet terrain after being separated from Izuku and everyone else. Shoji's arm eye widened when he saw something moving quickly towards them. He, however, became at ease when he saw the familiar orange color. Naruto? The other three stopped in their tracks and looked at where Shoji looked, and did see Naruto coming down from a huge leap and landed right in front of them. His bright smile gleamed in the sun. "Found you guys. It is Naruto. Yorisuke," he said casually and walked towards them. "You got lost too?" Tsu asked. "I'm a clone," Naruto clarified to them before adding. "Yeah. The boss got lost, so he made shadow clones to go find everyone." "Oh, I see. Your quirk helps you get information and send it to the original," Momo stated. Naruto grinned his signature. "That's right. That's a pretty handy quirk," Kyoka commented with a smile, and Naruto froze for a moment. Why did she look so much like Hinata? He chuckled, sheepishly rubbing the back of his head. "Arigato, databeo." Naruto turned back to look at the abandoned building. What do you guys plan to do here?" "I'm thinking we could easily locate everyone faster if we look through the windows of this building since it's so high," Momo explained. "There could be people hiding in here, you know." He pointed out. As long as I'm here, no one will get you guys, databeo," he said, beating his chest. They all smiled at Naruto's positivity and walked on into the building. Meanwhile, students of CI Academy monitor them. The one with many arms, the sound wave user, Frog, a quirk that makes things, and the one who duplicates. A calm voice said. One psycho intelli takes a sip of her tea and closes her eyes. A large set of equations form all over her mind, and she smiles. Giggling darkly, she cringed her eyes at the corners. The formula to my success is complete. The doors to the anteroom parted open, revealing the large number of students that had already passed. Shoto's eyes widened a bit. "What?" Sasuke asked, noticing his surprise. "There are a lot of people here already." "Seriously?" A boisterous voice called their attention as they walked in. Shoto looked a little further and recognized him as Inasa Yurashi, the boy Aizawa-sensei had acknowledged. "I love Stamman, too. He's a super passionate hero." The boy he seemed to be conversing with was a bit put off with his over-enthusiastic character. "Why is he talking to me out of the blue?" Shoto kept his eyes on Inasa as he and Sasuke took a seat. "He seems to interest you a lot," the uchiha noted, snapping the hybrid from his thoughts. Shoto looked up at him after blinking and shook his head. "Sorry, I'm just trying to find out why it's so difficult to remember him." "Oh." According to Aizawa-sensei, he and I both applied through recommendation and participated in the entrance exams. He said and sighed. "But for some reason, I can't seem to remember him." Sasuke hummed. "From what I know, he's a wind type. He's quite strong. Took out 120 students at once. He was the one." Shoto frowned in surprise, and Sasuke nodded. "I think he was the first to pass. Naruto would be excited to meet him. But I think Inasa abruptly stopped his conversation halfway and shot Shoto a look. A dark, shady look. He looked away from Shoto as quickly as he looked at him and faced his conversant. "So, what were we talking about again?" "How would I know? You're the one who started talking to me." Shoto just looked on at him weirdly. Shoji looked out the window with his extended arms. "It's no use. I can't find anyone from our class. Maybe they're in a different area," Tsuyu suggested. "Most likely," he agreed. Naruto gritted his teeth, feeling really useless. If my sensory skills were still active, I'd be of great help by now. He chastised himself. "Yaoyorozu, you heard the broadcast, right? The number is already past the halfway mark." Shoji said, "We should probably give up on finding everyone and start fighting our way through by ourselves." Tsuyu added, putting her finger on her chin. Momo looked worried for a second before sighing. "You're right. Sure. Jiro got everyone's attention. Her watch jacks were plugged into the walls. I can hear footsteps from 4 people on the stairs, about 10 floors below. She closed her eyes in concentration and opened them after a few seconds. They're coming. Are they coming after us? Naruto asked, his demeanor lightening. Finally, some action. It bothers me that there are only 4 coming. Jiro said, all the schools should be moving in bigger teams than that. Maybe their companions were defeated, and they're running away to hide here. Tsu guessed, but Jiro seemed to disagree. No, that's not what it sounds like. She looked at Momo. They're still climbing up. There must be more of them. She held her chin and narrowed her eyes in thought. A distraction or... A scream from Jiro yanked Momo out of her thoughts. Jiro, Tsu, Momo and Naruto cried. Momo was immediately at her side as Naruto and Tsu ran towards them. Shoji placed his extended arm ear on the wall for a short while. There's music. Jiro struggled to stand as she cringed and held onto her right ear. I'm fine. But hearing this suddenly must have been hard on Jiro. He added, so they know Kyoka's quirk and are interfering with it on purpose. Tsuyu stated and Naruto growled. Kyuso, they must be after us, then. Shoji concluded. This is bad. Momo said, now we can't tell where our opponents are. Phase 1 complete, Psycho said as she entered the elevator with her team, a tranquil smile on her face. Next begin Phase 2. A glass cracking sound caught their ears as the window began to crack, and the view outside became distorted, preventing anyone from seeing anymore. Nanny? Momo gasped. Hide! Attacks from outside? Jiro asked in an annoyed tone. Are they trying to stop me from using my eyes too? Shoji asked rhetorically. Outside, a student using a quirk-enhanced catapult and projectile. The first thing they did was to seal off Jiro and Shoji's quirk, which are good for finding the enemy. Whoever we're up against knows exactly what our quirks are. They want to make us stick here, right? Naruto growled, grabbing Momo's attention. Yes, I don't need Sage Mode to know they're already close by, he said sourly in his thoughts. These kids are seriously annoying. Suddenly Jiro stood to her feet and ran forward. Then we have to fight. We can't move carelessly. Momo tried stopping the earphone jack hero. Heartbeat did dash, a projectile flew toward her way, taking out her support tools and putting her down. Phase 2 complete. The sniper said flatly. Naruto quickly rushed after Jiro and caught a glimpse of her left ear. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fist. Kyuso, Kyuso, Kyuso. He weaved hand signs for shadow clone jutsu, so he could try finding their other opponents when his instincts told him to duck. He moved his hand by an inch dodging the shot and looked out the window with his activated Toad Sage mode. The sniper girl had tried a shot and frowned when Naruto had dodged it. She left quickly. So they even know I can't do a jutsu without my hands. Jiro, Momo called. Are you all right? They got my amp in my left ear. She hissed as she sat up with Naruto's help. They were able to predict her actions just from watching that one attack and this careful plan. There must be someone really intelligent among them. Does it feel a little colder to you? Shoji asked, snapping Momo from her thoughts. Come to think of it, the air did feel a bit chilly, and then she looked up and gasped. There's cold air coming from the vents. Another girl with a cold fog quirk was choking the vents up with her quirk, causing the temperatures in all the rooms to drop. Begin Phase 3, she said, pulling on a lever that closed all the window blinders and locked the doors. Naruto walked through the rocky terrain as carefully as possible, keeping his eyes and ears open. He sighed. The plan to stick together fell apart just like that. Not that he was surprised at their behavior. It was the same as the Chunin exams. Back in the Forest of Death, the kids were crazy. A memory flash of Gaara crushing someone to death with sand at his eyes, and he shook his head. He opened his eyes to see an individual approach him. Blinking, he smiled once the person came into view. Zero. Naruto? The cellophane hero squinted his eyes before they widened with joy. Naruto! Boy, am I glad to see you. Same here, Databeo. You haven't seen anyone from class yet? He asked, and Zero shook his head. The blond boy sighed and crossed his arms with a frown as he hummed in thought. God, I wish my sensory powers worked. Then my clones won't find it hard to get everyone to. Zero blinked at him in confusion. He didn't know of the inner turmoil Naruto was currently going through, but he had a suggestion. Naruto, why don't we fight together since we're here? Naruto smiled at his input. You're right. Maybe we'd find everyone else. Zero nodded. We'll watch each other's back. Meanwhile, Izuku was having trouble with a girl from Shiketsu High. She had already hit one of his targets and was using some special technique for hiding oneself. Something was off about her. She seemed more invested in him than the exams. She had even shape-shifted into Ochako to trick him, but thankfully, he saw right through her. What caught him off guard, though, was when she changed back to her original state. She was stark naked. Izuku couldn't avert his eyes. One, because she was still fighting him, and two, were boobs always that round? After she cut the skin on his cheek a little, she tried pinning her ball on his target when her arm got held back by a tape. Ochako swooped down and carried him a good distance away with zero gravity, and then Naruto, raising Gan, he hit the ground right next to her, letting only the shockwave hit her. However, she was graceful enough to maneuver airborne and land safely on the top of a rock. Quickly, she tucked her knees up in a pathetic attempt to cover her nakedness. I really wanted to know more about you, she said in a pouty tone, before looking at Ochako with a smile. He really trusts you. Then, she locked gazes with Naruto, who had been staring at her. Not her nakedness, but out of curiosity. The others watched their starring contest awkwardly before her giggle broke the silence. You're strong, was all she said before leaping away. That was weird, Zero said. Naruto remained silent, like he was processing what just happened. Izuku recognized that look of suspicion. Naruto? His breath stuttered a bit at how Naruto's expression easily changed to a smile without hitch. I don't think we have much time left, he said, smartly changing the topic. Everyone's on to us. It's already bad that they know about our quirks. Izuku sighed hopelessly as he sat leaning his back on the rock. Naruto too sighed, but an idea suddenly popped up in his head, and he grinned. There are like 20 students beyond this rock waiting to get us. Wanna beat M. Huh. They all look confused. Have you ever tried combined attacks? Well, no. I never thought of that. Izuku's eyes widened, and he smacked his own head. Hey, you're right. I got an idea. Minutes later, Naruto and Izuku came running out of their hiding place, drawing the attention of the students surrounding the area. As planned, they all gathered round the two in attack mode when, poof, they disappeared in a puff of smoke. The students, already frozen in confusion, did not see the trap set above them coming down. Tapes attached to rocks for weight fell and held down the students. The real Naruto and Izuku stepped forward grinning. Looks like your plan worked, Deku. Naruto gave him a thumbs up, while the hero in green just rubbed his neck and blushed. Flashback Naruto. Remember your match with Shinso. You were able to transform your eyes to make it look like you were under his spell. Can you maybe transform your whole body to look like me? Naruto gave them a hopeless expression, and they all gulped in anticipation. Well, Izuku just braced himself for a negative answer when, sure I can, Naruto said and laughed when they all fell to the ground, sighing in relief. Flashback and Ochako had caused the rocks to float with the tapes and released them just when their opponents were all arranged under the trap. They smiled and high-fived each other. The room temperature dropped even quicker. Tsu had lost consciousness and was wrapped in a blanket Momo had created. She's hibernating, Momo said in sad tone. They had shut Tsu down. These guys were good. Yamamoto. She heard a boyish voice behind her and looked back to see Naruto still standing with bubbly red chakra cloaking him. He held out his hand for her, and she took it. The chakra passed on to her and formed itself all over her body. She started to feel warm. I don't think that will help in the way I actually wanted it to, but giving everyone some warmth is the least I can do. He walked over to where Kyoka, Tsu, and Shoji crouched, and passed it on to them too. Kyoka noticed her ears started to heal. The way you actually wanted it to help. Momo repeated, but Naruto looked away towards their only way out. The locked door. It's complicated, you won't get it. I see. Thank you. Anyway, Karo. Tsu moaned as she stirred awake. Got a plan? Naruto asked, only to receive a sigh. No matter how many times I ask myself, I still get the same answer. They want me to use my quirk. They know I'd be weak after that. She bit her lip. I've been checkmated as far as I'm concerned. Naruto's eyes widened as he could vividly see old boy Shikamaru in her. When he heard checkmated, he remembered that one mission. He was out at sea, looking for Killer Bee, and Shikamaru visited to drop supplies, but they were stuck in a loop trap, and he was pushed in a tight corner. He said the same thing. But the next decision he made was what got them out of their pinch. Naruto shook his head and smiled. If this situation is the same as that, then the answer is the same. You know, he said, grabbing her attention. If I were you, I'd protect my friends instead. Momo's eyes widened, and she shook her head as if jerking awake from sleep. How could I forget the most important thing? I need to protect them. Without warning, she opened up her outfit at the chest area. Luckily, Kyoka reacted quickly. Yamamo! She shrieked, waving her arms around in an attempt to block her ample chest from sight. Soundproofing headphones popped out of her chest. Everyone, please have one. Then she crouched to the ground, and something huge protruded from her back. Kyoka's eyes widened. This is... Outside the door, Psycho and her crew prepared to attack. Yes, use you quirk, and you will become sitting ducks for us. Psycho chuckled darkly to herself. Inside, Momo had successfully created a large high-definition sound system. She panted for air, and two strong arms were there to catch her before she fell. She blushed at the contact and Naruto's smile. What are you doing? She asked as he supported her. I'm staying by you now that you're weakened. The boss always exposes himself when he's lost everything. So I'm protecting you in case anything happens, Databeo. He grinned. However, Momo didn't quite understand what he meant by that. The ear-piercing sound from Kyoka's sound waves amplified by the speaker wasn't as painful, as it was supposed to be thanks to the headphones and Naruto distracting her. The door pushed open due to the heavy sound waves, knocking their opponents out in the process. We did it. Kyoka rejoiced, and everyone was all smiles. It's okay, Naruto-kun. I can walk now. Thank you. Naruto let her stand on her own before he puffed into a cloud of smoke. Everyone gasped. Psycho had avoided Kyoka's attack and had wanted to pin her ball on Naruto's target, since he placed him so temptingly on his back. But since he was a clone, that wasn't going to work out. Psycho was very much shocked herself. The cloud of smoke engulfed both Momo and Psycho, and that was when she realized. She had not missed a grin on clone Naruto's face. As he faded away, the boss always exposes himself when he's lost everything. So that was why he kept hanging around me. Thanks to the smokescreen, Momo was able to trap Psycho with handcuffs she had created, pinning her down to the floor. Arigato, Naruto. As Naruto and Izuku entered the anteroom, he stopped abruptly. Izuku noticed the unreadable expression on Naruto's face that soon morphed into a satisfied smile. Naruto? Izuku looked on as Naruto walked by him and into the room. Yamamo and her team just passed, and as he said that, Mera announced through the telecom system that 4 students had just passed. Izuku, Achiko, and Cyril rejoiced. Way to go, Yamamo. Is that why you stopped so abruptly? My clones pass on whatever feelings and information it acquires after it dispels. Oh, I see. Izuku made a mental note to write that down in his good old notebook. Bakugo, Aijiro, and Denki later joined in after Momo and her team arrived. You guys came in after us? I expected Bakugo to be here first, but it looks like you dragged him back, Kaminari. She teased Denki, who fumed at her. Jiro, I'll never charge your phone again. He whined. Zero had gone ahead to spill Izuku's encounter with Kami to Mineta and Kaminari, and they were enraged. Taking hold of Izuku, they screamed at him and accused him of being a smooth talker and a bigger pervert than they were. Naruto's expression changed again, and Izuku was immediately at his side. Did another clone get dispelled? Naruto was a bit shocked by his sudden appearance and jerked before sighing in relief. Yeah, and that one was with Class Rep and Glitter Boy. Izuku decided to assume that Naruto was taken about Aoyama, but then his eyes widened in realization. Naruto, you still have clones outside. Why didn't you dispel them? 'Cause I want everyone to pass. The one with Class Rep's gone, but because of that, the other shadow clones now know where they are and everyone's together again. You know? He grinned. Sasuke smiled to himself. You're just never going to change, are you? 8 students just passed. Just 8 more left, and we're done for now. Mera seemed excited probably, because he was close to getting some sleep. That means it's left with the rest of the class outside. Izuku said, Come on, guys, you can do this. Kirishima cheered his classmates outside. Naruto's clones had successfully rounded everyone together, and they were already passing and hitting targets one by one. Once Lita and Aoyama hit their last target, Naruto's clone grinned before disappearing in a puff of smoke. All 100 slots have been filled. We're done. We've made it. Yahoo! Mera hollered. Deku! Bakugo's hoarse voice sounded strangely calm, but it still made Izuku jump out of his skin. Instead of the usual glare, he was met with an even calmer expression on the explosive boy's face. His heart thumped when he started walking over to him. Oh, God! What did he want? But come to think of it, he's come at me less these days. He felt his heart rise to his mouth when Bakugo neared him only for him to continue his strides and pass by him. You've made that borrowed power yours, right? Izuku was dumbstruck and elated at the same time. Kakin just acknowledged me. When the students met in the second hall, they were met with another surprise again, as the terrains they had previously fought on get demolished in front of their eyes. Sari's eyes bulged as he looked into the TV screen. There be people there. Don't worry, these are people from the Help Us Company. They're going to act as helpless civilians who need rescuing. That's where you come in. This last and final phase of the exams is to see how efficient you are at rescuing. So without further ado, the anteroom fell apart again, and the students rushed to start. Inasa flew into the sky. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, he cried. Izuku saw a helpless young boy, or man. He cried for his grandfather and called for help. Help, my grandpa. Izuku's heart dropped and he quickly neared the area. He saw the destruction and how injured the boy looked. Oh no, this is bad. Minus points. The boy shrieked, confusing Izuku and the students. Are the HUC company the ones giving us points? You saw that I was bleeding from my head, right? You didn't even consider that. And there was something wrong with the way I was breathing. And I'm a scared civilian in need of a hero, and the first thing the hero says is this is bad. Izuku immediately straightened, remembering that All Might always had a smile on his face. Don't worry, it'll be fine. He immediately had a smile on his face as he picked the boy and started on his way despite the boy's protest for him to cut it out. Okay, Sasuke, let's go do some rescuing. It's been long since we teamed up. You've been hanging out with Shoto and hardly have any time for me. Naruto pouted. You're the one who's always with Midoriya, Sasuke said flatly, enraging his blonde friend. Besides, he walked up to Naruto, laying a hand on his shoulder and leaning to his ear. We're originally here to just supervise them and ensure they all pass. So I suggest we lay low until we see something threatening. Sheesh, that guy really looks like a villain. The villains enter the arena close to the first aid station and make it their target. Now, heroes choose. The civilians or the villains. Remember, The choice you make can be very costly, he said in a dark tone. Orca Pops is really getting into character, Databeo. The majority of the students work on evacuating the injured away from the dangerous area. Yo, Shoto, and Inesa rush to the front lines. Gang Orca makes short work of Yo. It's great Shoto and that windy guy went in to attack since they got offensive quirks. Gang Orca is able to defend against Shoto's first attack, and he tries using fire, but Inesa's wind blew it off. Stop it. Your wind is blowing off my fire. Shoto seemed ticked off, but Inesa scoffed. Don't tell me what to do, son of Endeavor. This is where we come in, Sasuke said, stepping forward much to Naruto's confusion. And Nanny, Shoto and that guy are not on really good terms. Well, this is a surprise. It's not like you to butt into stuff that isn't your business. In case you haven't noticed, he unsheathed his sword. They do that a lot here. You and your father are the same. Inesa growled. That's ridiculous. Shoto shot back before he could shoot fire again. Sasuke got in his way, taking down a majority of the villains in a flash. Naruto doing same. Huh. Inesa was confused. Oh, those kids. Orca gazed at them. Where have they been? Are you guys gonna help, or just stand there? Naruto asked as he took down one of Orca's men. No way I'm working with him. Inesa rebuked. Then go join the guard for the first aid area. Some guys are escaping. Inesa begrudgingly flew over to stop the villains that tried getting to the first aid area. Yo Shindo shook the ground beneath the villains and broke it apart to stop their advance. When it was down to Orca only, Naruto, Sasuke, and Shoto surrounded him. The number 10 hero went on to say, normally, in this instance, a villain will give up. Naruto smirked but dropped it when he saw the glint in Orca's huge eyes. But here, we train you to be ready in case they don't. He shot hypersonic waves at them. So quickly they didn't have time to react. A bright yellow aura lit up all around them. Shoto's eyes narrowed in confusion until he saw Naruto in front of him and Sasuke, his arms stretched in front of him, like he was stopping something. Naruto was able to move fast enough to block off the hypersonic waves. He looked so different. Shoto couldn't really explain it, but one distinct topic about his new appearance was that he was glowing, shining so brightly that his presence gave off a sense of his unimaginable power. Just like All Might. Aw man, I wasn't supposed to use this, but now I have, Naruto said with a smile that greatly confused Shoto. He watched as the cloak disappeared and Naruto changed back to normal. Izuku joined in the fight, and immediately he joined in. Naruto told him to handle Orca with Shoto while he and Sasuke do a little cleanup. Izuku did not get what Naruto said, which he noticed has started to happen frequently, but he agreed anyway. Naruto made multi-shadow clones who quickly searched for any more civilians, gathering them to the first aid station quicker than any other person had. Then, when he was sure there were no more, you're up, Sasuke. Sasuke nodded and used Chibaku Tensei to lift the debris off the ground. The last students, with their rescued civilians, could get to the clinic quickly. The students watched in awe as the debris clustered up and formed a huge rock that stayed floating in the sky. Everyone was shocked. Where have these guys been? Mera asked, his eyes rid of sleep. Naruto gave the earth cluster a scrutinizing look. It looks smaller than usual, Databeo. Sasuke, already knowing Naruto's motive behind his words, ignored him. Whatever, just take it away from here. Hi. Naruto was taken off the ground as he activated his tailed beast chakra cloak. Now standing tall as Kurama, he took the zero-gravity earth cluster in his hands, walked to the edge of the stadium, as crushed it to dust. Orca tries to attack with hypersonic waves again, but Izuku puts him down with a powerful keep, ending the exams immediately. At the end of the exams, the results showed that Inesa and Shoto would have failed, thanks to Naruto and Sasuke, who intervened. They learned that it wasn't every time another hero would come settle whatever argument they have with each other. They both scored a deadly 50%. Any small mistake, and they would have failed. Though Sasuke and Naruto performed well in the exams, they were given 67% and 62% for standing around and doing nothing for the majority of the exams. Naruto, however, rubbed it in Sasuke's face since he had scored higher than him for rescuing more people. "So, how does it feel to be a hero, Deku?" Naruto asked him as they stood waiting for their bus. "I'm so happy. I can't explain it. I need to text my mom." And All Might dash Izuku's widened in realization at how he just spilled his relationship with All Might. Naruto just chuckled. "No worries, your secret's safe with me." He spotted Inesa looking unusually downcast and decided he'd had a word with the wind user. Inesa, on seeing Naruto approach him, bowed his head to the ground with so much energy. "Gomenisai, I'm sorry for causing trouble during the exams. I didn't realize what I was doing." Naruto was a bit shocked, but he quickly beckoned on Inesa to stand straight. "You're a wind user like me. I don't like to see my kind being like that. You are a wind type too?" His bright grin returned and Naruto gave him one of his own. "Yeah, but about your apology, you shouldn't apologize to me. I had nothing to do with this." Inesa looked conflicted for a second as he looked over at a downcast Shoto. "I know what his dad did to you may have hurt you, but you can't blame Shoto. He's just one of those guys who had to grow up under tough circumstances. I can't say he had a great childhood. I mean, look at that scar. He's really come a long way, though. My friend Sasuke can vouch for him. So if you should apologize to anyone, it should be him. He never meant any harm towards you, Databeo." Naruto grinned. "Oh, Uzumaki Naruto, is it?" A very hairy guy called out to him. Naruto tried his best to not show any sign of shock whatsoever. "That's right, Databeo. I'm Nagamasa Mora. I must say, your performance at the examination with your partner was quite fearful." Naruto chuckled nervously. "Sorry you had to see that. Do not apologize, I mean no harm. It is your quirk. Who am I to judge?" He quickly cleared the air. "Anyway, I came here to apologize for my classmate. He might have said some derogatory things towards your school, so I apologize on his behalf, because I want to form a good relationship with Yue." Naruto grinned at him. "No worries, but your actions prove you're a great leader. Seeking peace and cooperation is one of the best qualities of a great leader, Databeo." Nagamasa just shrugged and Naruto was as sure he smiled under all that hair. "Just doing my very best," he said humbly. Izuku popped next to him, so suddenly with his carry-around notebook. "Midoriya Izuku, pleasure to meet you." Nagamasa lightly bowed. "Great to meet you too." He smiled nervously. "There's something I wanted to ask you." His face suddenly became serious. "What is this special training for hiding yourself?" "Huh? We don't do that kind of training." Izuku looked a little downcast but confused at the same time. But the girl with the big lips said so. "Oh, you mean Cammy? Come to think of it, I haven't seen her." He started looking left and right in search of her. "And she's been acting really weird lately." Naruto started to process the information and piece it together. He was right to suspect that girl after all. The bus arrived shortly after, and as they were about to board, a loud, familiar, boisterous voice called out to them. It was Inesa, and he was hurrying towards the school's bus. "Goodbye, Yue. And I am sorry, Todoroki. We're even now, but I still don't like you." "No hard feelings. Okay." Shoto couldn't help but chuckle. That guy is too honest. While everyone lounged in the common room, Bakugo walked in and locked gazes with Izuku before approaching him. The green-haired boy froze to the ground as the explosive boys approached him. Bakugo's calm face changed to a frown. "Why the hell do you look like you're about to piss our pants?" he asked, and Izuku blushed in embarrassment. Bakugo rolled his eyes. "Just come with me, you damn nerd." He walked a few studies ahead of Izuku before he started to follow, but Izuku was confused. What did he want to show him now? He was surprised when Bakugo approached Naruto and Sasuke while they conversed. They gave Bakugo a questioning look. "Deku and I need to talk to you guys." Izuku looked at Bakugo incredulously. "We?" Naruto wanted to decline, but then Bakugo added the last part with a serious look. "It's important. Izuku didn't know what Bakugo wanted to talk to them about, but he had a bad feeling in his stomach. Izuku had a bad feeling in his gut. This was just like what happened before his fight with Bakugo that led to their house arrest, and Izuku falling behind in class. He walked silently looking at Naruto and Sasuke to gauge their reactions to this. They had walked quite a distance by now. Bakugo led them through the training grounds which were already blocks away from the dorms. "Oi, Bakugo! What's all this about?" Naruto halted his steps, causing everyone else to stop along with him. His current countenance was one of annoyance. His face sterned and he gave Bakugo a pointed look. The explosive hero in training sighed, knowing this is as far as he could go with them. He turned completely to face them. "We've made it far enough from the dorms, and I'm sure we're not being followed," he said, looking all around them to confirm their privacy. "So, why are we here?" Naruto pressed. "There's something I needed to ask you, or rather, confirm." Sasuke's eyes narrowed at Bakugo. If he was going to ask questions about their powers, they wouldn't reveal much, but he said confirm. The hell was he talking about? Naruto? He then looked over at Sasuke. "Uchiha, you guys aren't from here, are you?" "Of course we aren't from here. You heard that we were from a village far away." Sasuke cut in sharply before Naruto could speak. Sure, the sarcasm in his voice was very distinct. So far away that it can't even be traced in this dimension. Izuku, who was silently watching, widened his eyes at the two. "No wonder Naruto's power is so different from the rest. You're from a world where gods and beings more powerful than us exist. It's like you both came straight of a fairy tale." He stated, leaving no room for Naruto and Sasuke to counter that fact. Everything was so accurate. "You're probably wondering where you slipped up, don't worry. No one else in school in our class knows. They just think you both are blessed with powerful quirks just like All Might was. I mean, you two soloed the final phase of the provisional exams. So, how did you figure it out?" Naruto asked. "Where did we slip up with you?" "The mistake you made was when you agreed to fight me. I just don't jump into fights to boost my ego. Well, it was partly to satisfy my ego, but I got the small clue I needed before putting 1 and 2 together." Naruto looked on at Bakugo with an intense gaze and sighed. He must have felt something after his encounter with Kurama. "It was after you met him, right?" "Huh. Kurama, my tailed beast." He repeated. "You found out what you wanted after your contact with him." He sighed, so it was Kurama who slipped up. "Ah. Honestly, I couldn't get the image out of my head, but I did get the answers to all the unanswered questions. Your power levels are out of this world, almost unreal. To be honest, I had suspected you both to be spies from the Villain League, but that assumption didn't seem too tangible. I observed you both a little more, and after seeing your personalities, I came to the conclusion that instead of working for the Villain League, you were recruited by the Hero League to be our secret bodyguards because honestly, I don't trust our school security system that much. And the question on why they would pick you, you're young and the pro heroes are all known to some level, so 2 young and unknown powerful dudes seem perfect for the job." Bakugo evaluated as Naruto's jaw had slackened, surprised at how the kid had analyzed the whole thing. Sasuke sighed. "I've learned all my life never to underestimate or judge a book by its cover, but you make that hard for me." He tilted his head to the side, as if sizing up Bakugo. "You're actually smarter than you look." He added after, and Bakugo glared at him. "I chose to keep an eye on Shoto, since he looked the observant type." He continued. "Anyway, now that you know, what are you going to do about it?" The silence that followed after Sasuke's question was a long one, as if Bakugo was contemplating on his confrontation. "Naruto." Sasuke and Izuku started him as he made up his mind. "I want you to train me, and Deku," he said, giving them an even stare. "I will keep this a secret since you don't want it getting out, and the Hero League and All Might are involved." He explained. "Deku and I need to get stronger. We're the Villain League's main targets. So, Naruto said quietly and looked over at Sasuke. "What do you think, Sasuke?" he asked, but the Uchiha looked rather conflicted. He was looking straight at Bakugo. Strangely, Sasuke could see his younger self in Bakugo. The anger, the aggressiveness, the rivalry, The stubbornness, it was all there. Except that he wasn't as foolish as he was then. From what Shoto had told him, Bakugo was face to face with the choice of joining the dark side in exchange for power. But he resisted it. He was able to resist, unlike him who grasped onto it like a rock in the middle of a high-running river. He was so desperate. He let his desire for vengeance consume him, and it lead him down the wrong path. He balled his fists. Naruto could see his inner turmoil and looked over at Bakugo, also seeing the old Sasuke in him, but one who knew what he wanted and a good sense of direction. Since you're asking for the right reasons, Sasuke suddenly spoke. In a soft tone, he raised his head and his expression had neutralized. And you came to the right people, then we'll train you. He turned away and walked off with his hands in his pockets. Izuku had noticed along with Naruto, and even Bakugo, his sudden change in countenance. What's up with him? Bakugo asked. Naruto just sighed and trailed off in Sasuke's direction. This isn't a good time, but he'll be fine by tomorrow. The next morning was lively as everyone was in high spirits due to their victory at the pro license exam. Mostly they kept bombarding Naruto and Sasuke with questions about their quirks. What exactly is your quirk? Are you hybrids like Todoroki? Man, that was crazy. You turned into some huge golden fox or something. Is it possible you and I have the same quirk? No. Achiko, he didn't even touch the rocks. Oh, the questions kept coming from all sides. They didn't even notice Aizawa walk in until his grave voice caught their attention. In your seats, everyone. He glared at them with his sleep-ridden eyes, sending fear into their beings and forcing them to their seats. Once everyone was settled in, he continued to speak. Now that we're all back from the exams, we can go further into work studies. He turned towards a door. Please come in. The huge door of Class 1A opened as 3 persons walked in. One looked very enthusiastic. The other was all smiles, while the last one didn't look too thrilled to be in his current surrounding. Class 1A watched with surprised gazes as they walked in, Izuku being the most surprised, Bakugo sizing them up, Sasuke indifferent, and Naruto looked quite happy to see one of them. Mirio, they have gone through this experience and are going to teach you on how it is different from internships. Listen carefully. He looked back at the class with his indifferent look as he introduced the persons. They are third-year students of UA who stand at the top of every other student. The Big Three? The Big Three? Izuku muttered and Mirio grinned. Kirishima leaned up to Kaminari in front of him and whispered, Hey! Come to think of it, doesn't that guy look a lot like Uchiha? Kaminari quickly stole a glance at Tamaki, whose eyes constantly watched his shoes, and Sasuke leaning back in his chair, looking up at the ceiling with the same aloof expression as Shoto. He frowned in realization. You're right. The top of all students in UA, the Big Three. The Big Three. I heard they're the people we're supposed to be like. There's someone pretty there too. They don't really seem like it. Mirio. It was expected of Naruto to see Mirio again. He was told that Mirio was a senior at UA after all. He was one of the first people that accepted him into Mizurufu after the incident. Blue eyes clashed with blue, and a small smile of acknowledgement was exchanged between them. Aizawa then looked back at UA's Big Three. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves briefly? Let's start with Amajiki. The boy in question kept his eyes down for what felt like an eternity, and then, in a split second, he lifted his eyes and stared at them. The students except Sasuke shook, feeling the intensity of his gaze until, It's no good, his shook and cowered back again, maybe imagining the students as potatoes wasn't just enough. His friends turned to look at him in concern. Mirio, Hato-san, even if I try imagining them as vegetables, it's still no good. What should I do? I can't say anything. He shivered, and everyone just blinked at him. My mind's blank. I can't. The dark-haired boy spun around and back to class. I want to go home. Huh. You are the top of UA's hero course, right? Ojiro asked, internally doubting Aizawa's introduction. Oh, listen, Amajiki. That's called having the heart of a flea. Even though you're human, it's strange. Hato giggled at Tamaki's behavior. She then turned to the class with a bounce in her step. This is the flea, Tamaki Amajiki, and I'm Nighteye Hato. She introduced herself politely and more properly than the former. We were asked to talk about work studies with you. But wait, her eyes that were once trained and focused immediately dilated, as if finding something interesting. She was immediately invading Shoji's personal space. Why are you wearing a mask? Are you sick? Trying to look cool. WL, this is because, in the past, she didn't bother to let him finish. Her doe eyes moved to another thing. Oh, you're Todoroki, right? How did you get burned there? She pointed to her left eye, indicating where his burn was. Sasuke watched amused as Shoto wanted to answer the question, but was cut off. What he didn't expect was for her to approach him. He nearly jerked at how close she was to him. Wow! You're so handsome, and you look just like Amajiki. She turned to where Tamaki stood cowering with his back, facing everyone. Amajiki, look, this guy looks like you. She moved to Naruto next, saying his whiskers were adorable, and to Ishido, asking if her horns could grow new ones if they broke off. To Tsu, she confirmed whether she was a tree frog and not a toad. To Mineta, she commented on his hair being like balls, asking how he could get a haircut, and of course, the perverted midget took it the wrong way. There's so much I want to know about you all, it's so strange, she said with childlike excitement. Denki sighed. She's got that airhead thing going on. It's so cute, he said with a serene smile on his face. She's like a kindergartner. Mina giggled. She said, she likes my balls. Oi, that's sexual harassment, you know. Mineta drooled at the sight of her. That's not what she meant. Zero interjected. Nijire just kept asking more questions, much to Aizawa's annoyance. His eyes changed crimson, and so did his aura. His hair started flailing around, and his glare moved over to Mirio, who stiffened. Isn't this lacking rationality? Don't worry, Mr. Eraser. I'm going last to wrap things up, he said, determination shining in his eyes. He looked at the students. Then, with an energetic and cheery tone, he raised his hand to the air before bringing it down to his ear. The future is... He waited for a response, but the students seemed lost and not catching on with his joke. Grim. He tried clearing the air of confusion. That's what you were supposed to say, right? Oh, Mirio, not the jokes. Naruto smiled at the situation and rubbed the back of his neck. All right, my call and response was a huge fail, he said and burst into laughter. All three of them are weird, Sato whispered to Tokoyami and Koji. I mean, even though they're called the Big Three, it's like, you can't see it in their personalities. Tokoyami finished it off. Well, you guys look like you're not sure what's going on, right? Mirio took back attention. We're just three seniors who suddenly appeared to explain about work studies that aren't even required. That's confusing, right? He suddenly went quiet, and the air around him changed. You guys just got your pro licenses as first years, right? This year's first years are quite energetic, right? Naruto just leaned his cheek on his palm and smiled. Here we go. Amajiki and Nijire shot him looks. Mirio pumped his fist into the air. Why don't you all fight me at once? The students' reactions were confusion and then shock. Naruto chuckled while Sasuke rolled his eyes. Fight you? Out of the blue? It's the most rational to have you all experience our experience firsthand, right? Mirio turned to Aizawa with a permissive look. What do you think? Eraser head. Do what you want, the dry-eyed man said indifferently. He seemed to have calmed down. The students all stood facing Mirio except Naruto and Sasuke, who stayed by Aizawa's side. It was rather disappointing to most students, but even Naruto had to admit that he'd had enough with Mirio's over-energetic nature. And he wasn't one to talk. He and Mirio's fight the first time they met was crazy. The guy's quirk was a lot like Obito's, except he actually slips through instead of being transported. He was actually forced to enter Sage mode to land a hit on him, but that took forever. These kids were going to get it. He felt for them. Are you serious? Ciro asked nervously as he and the rest of the class watched the muscular senior do some warm-ups and stretches. Mirio, Tamaki said quietly in a corner he stood at, his head on the wall. This isn't necessary. It would have been fine if you just talked to them like, this is what I experienced and what you're going to expect. Yeah, but letting them experience our experience works too. Mirio said, not budging. He faced the students. All right, come at me. You asked for it. Bakugo charged first in a flash with his explosive power propelling him forward, his fist ready to punch his opponent ahead of him. Die! Mirio looked on surprised as Bakugo had just bounded in all of a sudden. However, instead of getting hit by Bakugo's attack, he just phased right through. Naruto smirked. The whole class dropped their jaws, but it wasn't just because of his amazing quirk. Why your clothes? Kyoka exclaimed, but he wasn't even paying attention. He was looking at Bakugo. So you went for my face, right? He said with a smile, before more attacks from the other students phased right through him. Izuku had gone ahead to try kicking him from a blind spot, but his plan failed. Thanks to his classmates who fired at Mirio, he was able to escape. But just like Izuku's kick, their attacks phased right through him and he disappeared. The next thing that happened was him popping out of the ground behind them. I'll take out the long-distance fighters first. He took them all down, punching them in the gut as he moved. No one could land a hit on them. Power, he cried. I feel bad watching these kids. Sasuke admitted and Naruto glared at him. Just like you felt bad when he was fighting me. Sasuke just scoffed. How long did it take you to realize that if you want to beat him, you have to be fast and perceptive? He looked towards a beatdown. That's his weakness. He can't think that fast. Mirio moved forward in attack mode towards the remainder of students. Now for the short-distance fighters. Izuku had managed to figure out a little about his quirk and moves, so he shared the knowledge with his classmates. Looks like Deku's figured something out, Naruto said in a tone that held fondness. That kid is quite smart. Sasuke agreed, then his eyes narrowed. After Mirio had slipped into the ground, Izuku had predicted that he'd pop up behind him. Naruto smiled at Izuku's predictability, but he shook his head. You'll have to try harder than that. Oh! He then made a move to poke Izuku in the eye, which caused him to instinctively shut his eyes. Mirio slipped through all their attacks, popped up out of the most unexpected places, and punched them all in the stomach. Power! He roared with excitement. Over in his corner, Tamaki sighed. Mirio, you should really learn to hold back sometimes. Naruto stood from his squatting position after Mirio finished getting dressed. So, is my quirk strong? He asked, causing an explosion of whining within the students. Yes, you have a slipping and warp quirk, no fair. My tummy hurts. My quirk isn't strong. I made it strong. Huh! Mirio. Can I say it? Can I tell them what your quirk is? Nighteye popped up beside Mirio and hopped excitedly. Oh, okay, Hato, go ahead. It's permeation. The quirk allows him to slip through anything. Yeah, he nodded. You guys thought I was warping, but it's just an application of that. He turned to Hato, who seemed annoyed by his interruption, and kept tugging at his shirt. Sorry about that. How exactly do you warp? Izuku asked, making note, writing gestures, and looking sharply at the senior. Ochiko just blinked at him. If I activate my quirk through my whole body, then I can go through everything. He repeated for emphasis, and tapped the floor with his foot. That means the ground too. Oh, then that was you falling into the ground. Ochiko said, referring to the first time he moved to attack them. That's right, I fell underground, and then when I release my quirk while I'm falling, something amazing happens. He began. Apparently, things that have mass can't overlap, so I get repelled. In other words, I get repelled back to surface. That's how my warp works. Looking at the reactions of the students, Bakugo, Izuku, and Shoto seemed to be following. Tenya and Momo tried envisioning it in their heads. Denki looked like he had short-circuited, and Kyoka still seemed a bit conflicted after seeing his nakedness, but they were all listening anyway. By changing the angle based on the direction of my body or the pose I'm holding, I can aim for where I get repelled to. Mina looked really confused. Sounds like a buggy game. You could say that. Mirio burst out laughing, and Kyoka jerked. Was it really that bad? I swear when Mirio explained his quirk to me, I didn't get it. Naruto chuckled. I thought your head was going to burst open. Sasuke said. So, how did you make your quirk strong? Shoto asked the main question straight up. Well, while my quirk is activated, my lungs can't take in oxygen. Even if I breathe, it'll just go through. The same way, vibration goes through my eardrums and light, my retinas, I can go through everything. That means I don't feel anything. I just fall even though I have mass. That's all it is. Izuka gaped at Mirio after he had just made that revelation. That's why, when I want to slip through a wall, I activate my quirk except for one leg, so I can maintain footing. Then, when I make it to the other side, I deactivate it on that leg and activate it on the other. For a simple action like that, there are a bunch of steps involved, don't you think? If it was me, I'd mess it up if I was in a hurry. Kaminari whispered nervously to Mineta. As expected, with this quirk, I dropped to dead last. I dropped my clothes too. But to reach the top, I couldn't stay back. I had to think faster than everybody, and I had to be super predictive and tricky, and I learned all that through experience. I built my predictions on what I knew. It ended up being kind of long, but that is why I wanted to fight you all. I wanted to show you through experience rather than words, he said and smiled at how enlightened the students were already looking. In our work studies, we're not guests, we're treated as one of the sidekicks and as pros. That's really scary. Pros will sometimes end up watching people die, but those scary and painful things we go through, all of them, are first-rate experiences you wouldn't be able to have at school. He pumped his fist and clenched at it. I changed the experience I got during my work study into power and took the top spot. That's why I think it's something you should do even if you're scared. First years. Izuku felt those words pierce right through and unlock something familiar. Turn experience into power. This is just like Naruto's experience. He looked over at the boy bickering with his friend, a wide grin on his face. His pain and experience made him powerful. He looked back at Mirio. Mirio-senpai and Naruto are so alike. The sound of applause among the students broke him out of his thoughts. Even his speech was like a prose. The students now knew that they won't be treated as guests as they realized that they weren't allowed to do dangerous things during their internships. They felt encouraged to act as pros on the scene and go plus ultra. So like Mirio to spark up the morale, Naruto praised the senior, and Sasuke shook his head at him in amusement. That's something you used to do too. Huh, you both are basically the same person. Aizawa grunted. I agree, he said, and walked away from their side. Naruto and Sasuke watched him walk away with shocked expressions. When did he wake up? We'll be going back now. Aizawa spoke to the students. Say thank you. Thank you. They all chorused. Mirio marched on feeling giddy with his friends following him behind. You know, was there any point in us being there? Hato asked Tamaki, who just bowed his head. I'm glad I didn't get to do anything. Let's be grateful to Mirio. Mirio, yo. Mirio looked ahead and smiled brightly. Ah, Naruto. He rushed towards a blond boy who kept laughing sheepishly and rubbing the back of his head. You didn't fight along with everyone. Do you seriously want us to fight again? Naruto asked, looking at him incredulously. Ah, I've come up with a better strategy to beat your speed, he said, pumping his fist. Okay. Naruto grinned slyly. Then if I win, you'll have to pay for the ramen. Again, I'm not gonna lose. Mirio roared excitedly. Hato and Tamaki just blinked at the scene. Oh, it's that guy from first year. I don't know him, but Mirio seems to know him. Tamaki answered slowly. They watched as the two talked and laughed. He looks our age, Hato commented and Tamaki agreed, and then a smile crept on his face. He and Mirio are so alike. Okay, Mirio, I'm having classes a little after. Maybe we could hang out later, Databeo. Databeo? Hato and Tamaki repeated, as they gave Naruto a questioning look. Sure thing, Naruto, Jana. Bye. He disappeared in a puff of smoke. Hey, Mirio. Who's that? Hato asked. A friend of mine. Mirio answered shallowly, and just like that, his friends knew they weren't getting any more information than that, so they let it go instantly. Mirio walked on with a smile that masked his guarded countenance. He had been acting his best ever since he was introduced to Naruto by Sir. Even though Sir had introduced Naruto as someone who had helped them greatly, he was still wary of him. After all, he was the one who nearly destroyed the city and killed some heroes. He felt bad for thinking like this about Naruto. The guy was good at heart, but that was how he felt. Anyway, Hato asked, was there anyone interesting? Among the first years, she clarified. I want to know. It's so strange. Mirio actually looked up and thought. I defeat them from the back rows. That's my basic combat strategy against opponents. That problem child analyzed my first moves and moved like he predicted what I'd do. He grinned brightly. He's someone Sir would like. Tamura woke up to the voices of his cohorts arguing. From the redness of Toga's face, it must have been going on for a very long time. His plan for revenge on Chisaki and the destruction of the Hero Society was all set and was slowly taking course. He chose not to pay them any mind and watched silently when something Toga said piqued his interest. I'm telling you, it's true. That can't be true. It is. I saw it. He glows like the sun. He could grow huge and turn into a fox, she said excitedly. Then his friend made all the rocks float and cluster up into one huge ball of earth. A fox? Hearing Tamura's voice must have been a bit surprising to hear, since they thought he was asleep. They all looked his way sharply. Oh, sorry for waking you. Shigaraki-no, not sorry. Twice battled with himself. Tamura just waved him off. You were talking about someone who was quite powerful. Yeah, Tamura. Toga said happy someone would at least believe her. He's tall, blonde, and very handsome. His friend is too, and I think I heard Izuku-kun call him Naruto. A snicker from Dabi was heard in a corner of the room. Who names their kid Naruto? I think it's a cute name, and his whiskers are so adorable. She smiled and rubbed her cheeks. Whiskers? Now, that's weird. Atsuhiro said. What did you say about he and his friend's powers? Can you believe her, Tamura? She said he was strong enough to block Orca's hypersonic waves. Atsuhiro cut in making the shape-shifter glare at him. Don't make me cut out your other arm. You said he turned into a fox, right? Tamura asked, and Toga seemed to know what Tamura was trying to get on. Yes, just like the demon fox incident that took place a week ago. Tamura finished up, and the others in the room could not help but start racking their brains. They have a connection, the Stain fanboy asked. I do remember him being the color red at that time, but Toga just said he glowed like the sun. He scratched at his neck, but not irritably, more in thought. He was quite destructive too. He killed some heroes that brought a smile to my face. And if not for that friend of his, the whole city could have been destroyed. What we'd been planning to do for a long time could have been done in 5 minutes. Everyone gasped at Tamura after all he said, but he was right, and Toga was not lying after all. I'm very sure that the fox Toga's talking about is the same one on the news. This. Naruto probably lost control of his quirk, and now the Hero League has him, and are probably using them to protect Yue. Toga gushed at Tamura. Wow, you're so smart, Tamura-kun. Toga, I'll need to make use of your quirk again. You seem to find a convenient route for yourself to sneak in there, right? The question made her blush in embarrassment. I'm super careful, I swear. Forget about that for now, but do this for me. Find out more about Naruto and his friend. Tamura said. Then we'll go for phase 2 right after. Our plan can't fail. Because of them. A soft knock on the door woke Izuku up from his sleep. He'd been lying there after his phone conversation with Gran Torino about work studies. However, the jet hero did not have much time on his plate to handle Izuku for work studies. He had a much tougher case on his own end. He advised Izuku to talk to All Might about this, since he had so many connections and knew so many great heroes. He was thinking about all that, so he wasn't really asleep. Walking carefully to the door, he opened it to see it was Naruto. He was surprised. Naruto had never been in his room before, and plus oh no, Naruto can't see all this. He wanted to hurry and clear out his All Might action figures and posters, but he had already opened the door and Naruto had walked in. "Konnichiwa, Databeo," he said in a cheery tone as he walked in. He took a good look around and knitted his brows together in amusement. What is this, a shrine? Izuku felt like crawling into a hole. No worries. I'm a fanboy too, Naruto admitted. For ramen? Izuku guessed, and Naruto shook his head. My addiction for ramen is not that bad. Naruto scoffed. I'm actually a huge fan of one of the Hokage back home. He grinned. My father, the fourth Hokage, the one who sealed the Kyuubi to you? Naruto rubbed the back of his head and smiled nervously. Izuku was probably not happy with his dad. Yeah, he saw the village as his family, and that's why he was able to sacrifice his life for everyone. I get that you're not really happy about what he did. Fine, I wasn't either. I punched him hard in the gut when we met. Izuku blinked. You met? Yeah. Naruto smiled nervously again. Now I know this may confuse you, but I'll explain the best way I can. My father had sealed some of his chakra within me, so the 8 trigram seal breaks. He'd come back to reset it. You can do that much with chakra. You can do many things with chakra. That's amazing. Yeah. Naruto's expression softened and he smiled as he touched his belly. If my dad hadn't showed up, I would have died. So, he protected me, Databeo. Naruto looked up to see Izuku's forlorn gaze. He seemed withdrawn because of the dad topic. I'm sorry, is your dad? No, I don't know. I never met him, Izuku answered in a hollow voice. His expression wasn't even helping matters. Naruto couldn't tell what he was feeling right now. All I knew was that he could breathe fire. I don't think I have an idea what he looks like 'cause I look mostly like my mom. He sat down on his mattress, and Naruto followed suit. He tried constructing the right, but it wasn't coming to him. I don't know how to say it, but yeah. I know what you mean, he sighed. But I guess it's the reason why I look up to All Might so much. I mean, a kid is supposed to have a father, you know, that male figure to look up to. It's only natural. You look up to your dad, and I All Might because he's a father figure to me. Naruto smiled at the green-haired boy, who seemed to have a knack for getting back up. Izuku had smiled and decided to throw the dad topic in the trash, which he also agreed to do. You're thinking about where to go for work study, huh? He asked, and Izuku brightened at him. Yeah, you got a place. All Might got me a place. He wants me to work with his old sidekick 'cause he asked for me. He also said, I can bring a +1, so I thought of you. Izuku felt like he should burst in tears, and he did. Naruto, arigato gozaimasu. He hugged the tall blonde. Geez, this guy is giving me Lee vibes. Naruto laughed. Another thing, he said, and his expression became serious in an instant. Izuku mirrored his expression. Naruto took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Now I'm about to tell you about something strange that's been going on, Databeo. Izuku locked gazes with Naruto as he spoke. Remember when I suggested we leave early from training just 'cause I needed ramen? Yeah. Well, that was a lie. Sorry, but I had to keep it from you at the moment. I didn't know how you'd react, Databeo. So, what happened? Izuku asked, feeling invested in their discussion. There was someone spying on us in the bushes then. Naruto answered, and the young hero's eyes popped out of their sockets. Now at first, I didn't get a good look and didn't know who it was, so I did my own little investigation. I observed our classmates every time we were together. It was even one of the reasons why I used shadow clones to watch over everyone, even Bakugo at the exams. You had a clone follow Kakin too? Ah, but the clone hid and watched everything play out instead. He would have gotten mad if I interfered, Databeo. Anyway, I didn't get any leads and our classmates seemed to have nothing on them. But then I remembered that girl during the exams. Kami. Izuku was fully focused on their discussion and could tell who Naruto was referring to right away. He could remember the look of suspicion Naruto gave her continuously. Come to think of it, he didn't even see her during the second phase of the exams, and Nagamasa from her school did say she was acting weirdly. It was all piecing together slowly. Yeah, that girl could shapeshift, and I know one thing shapeshifters are good at doing is sneaking around. So it's possible that Kami was not the real Kami. Someone took her place, so they could keep spying on you. Izuku nearly choked on air. What? Me? But why? Naruto shrugged. Sorry, Deku. I'd gladly tell you about my connection with All Might, but I can't if he says I shouldn't. I dunno, but what I do know is that wasn't Kami. The hairy guy said she was acting weirder than normal, and that can only mean one thing. Izuku nodded, understanding. Wow! Naruto can be very keen at his own time. I remember you saying something to Nagamasa, that she told you about this hiding training. Izuku's eyes widened, and he jumped to his feet, his analytic brain coming to life. So that means the shapeshifter has good hiding skills. Yes. Naruto also jerked up to his feet and clasped his hand with Izuku's. By the way, she seemed really into you. He grinned slyly, and Izuku blushed. So if she's spying on me, then it means I'm being constantly monitored. How did she even get in? Well, that's why I'm here. Naruto shrugged. The school security system isn't trusted, so prepare for the worst. Just 'cause I'm gonna be there for you doesn't mean you're not gonna fight. Izuku gave Naruto a determined nod and escorted him to the door. Watch your back, okay? Naruto advised before grinning once again. Meet me at the gym tomorrow. Hi, good night. Night. Okay, I just have to meet him in the gym as planned. Izuku muttered as he walked down the hall. Since running in the halls wasn't allowed, this was going to be a drag. He took a look at his watch and regretted. Naruto was going to be kept waiting. He had previously been distracted by Aoyama, who had thought he was sick and offered him some Swiss cheese. Biting his lip, he silently hated that he was so nice. He wished he and Kakin could just switch bodies for a day. Wait, what? He finally rounded a corner, bumped into a few students, and walked down one last hall before his target was spotted in his school uniform, chatting with a UA senior. Though, from the looks of it, the senior was doing more of the talking and Naruto listening, and Naruto seemed quite uncomfortable, only hiding it with a smile. It seemed the senior was asking Naruto disturbing questions, because that smile screamed help. Then Izuku finally caught on. Oh no, the news? He rushed into action, stepping right between Naruto and the senior. Gomenasai, senpai. He practically screamed and pushed Naruto as far away as possible, even though the senior tried to call them back. He didn't know how he found the bravery to interrupt the senior, but he did. He was a hero after all. Thanks, Deku. You're a lifesaver, Databeo. He was asking you about that incident, right? Izuku asked him with an understanding look, and Naruto sighed. I haven't really been that mobile since I got here, and people are starting to recognize me. They know I was the one, the beast that caused nothing but chaos. He answered quietly. Izuku felt really bad for Naruto, and he couldn't blame anyone else either. They won't be able to understand him just like Izuku does. Or maybe even Class 1A. He sighed and placed a hand on his shoulder. Naruto looked at the boy's confident gaze and raised fist. Daijobo, I'm here for you. The Uzumaki smiled, looking away for a bit before grinning and fist-bumping Izuku. Arigato, Databeo. They finally reached the door, to which Naruto knocked on. A come-in was heard from inside, giving them the go-ahead to step in. Naruto beamed at the person seating across Toshinori. Mirio, "Hey, Naruto!" Izuku looked between two of them. Had they met already? They were being too chummy for people who just met yesterday. "Welcome," Toshinori said, and motioned for them to sit. Once they were settled in their seats, Toshinori began after clearing his throat. "Young Togata is currently doing work study under night. And Naruto was just requested to join the agency recently." He then smiled at Naruto. "I'm glad you are bringing young Midoriya along." "Oh, Midoriya, you're going to be joining us?" "Hi." Izuku nodded with a smile. "You know, All Might, I don't really get why I need to be the middleman." Mirio said, "You could go see Sir and tell him. Not that I'm complaining, right?" "No, I get your point, but I can't see Nighteye." Toshinori's expression drooped. "It is because I ended up exactly the way he said I would." The room got quiet for a while, and Naruto looked on at All Might sadly. He, Naruto, knew something that neither Mirio nor Izuku knew, and it had been bothering him, but no one noticed. He was good at masking his feelings, anyway. Flashback young Uzumaki. "There is something I have to tell you," he had said in a conflicted tone that was accompanied by a harsh cough. Naruto offered him a hanky from his pocket to prevent the blood from splashing out. He looked on at the aged man worriedly. "What's wrong, Ajiken?" Toshinori looked up at the evening sky from where they both sat in his office. "Soon," he began, "I will leave this world," and passed the torch on to young Midoriya. Naruto gasped lightly and looked at Toshinori shocked. "Ajiken, you're going to die? Everything has happened so fast," he said and hummed. "Yes, I didn't expect to find a successor so soon, and I didn't even find him in UA. Nani?" Naruto tilted his head in question. "What do you mean you didn't find him in UA?" "I didn't find my successor in UA like I was supposed to." "Supposed to?" This was starting to get very confusing. Toshinori looked at Naruto as he spoke. "I came to UA for the sole purpose of finding a successor and nurturing him to become the next holder of One for All. To be honest, there was a student already recommended for me, and it was not Midoriya." "Who was it?" Toshinori looked back at the sky again. It was young Togata. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise, but he couldn't see why not. Mirio was jovial, good-hearted, strong, and very influential individual in UA. People looked up to him, adored him, and always supported him. He didn't have a glorious start. He was a sore loser. Naruto even admitted that they were alike, that he was a perfect candidate, but however, that burning passion, that will of fire. Naruto hadn't felt it with him, like he felt from Izuku. Not at all. So, Deku wasn't your first choice. He wasn't even your choice? Toshinori nodded slowly and glanced at Naruto's sad state. "Why didn't you tell him?" Came the next question. Toshinori did not answer, but instead he just sat there with Naruto in his quiet office. Flashback E&E anyway. Toshinori's voice broke Naruto out of his trance. "What do you think of young Midoriya and Uzumaki?" Mirio, looking as bright as ever, glanced at both boys. "Well, I do know a lot about Naruto," he began. "But Midoriya, why do you want to be a hero, Midoriya?" Izuku looked up at the senior for a little moment. He remembered his mother, her wet, teary eyes, her worried sobs, and her tight hold on his arm. "I want to be strong enough that no one will worry about me," he began. "To always win, to always save everyone." Naruto's eyes softened at Izuku, immediately casting his sorrow aside. He could see strong hope in Izuku's eyes when he finally said, "I want to be the greatest hero." Naruto could already see himself in Izuku, a worthless, quirkless, powerless boy that still looked on at a bright future and refused to give up. Naruto could see why fate turned in his favor. Because of his mindset and strong will, he was sure that Izuku would make it, without a doubt. Mirio took his own time to glance over at Izuku's scarred arms. From there he knew Izuku was a passionate hard worker and would do anything to reach his goal. He was amazed and he couldn't help but voice it out. "That's a crazy goal. He began but surprised Izuku with a smile and a thumb up. "All right, we're good to go. Welcome aboard, Midoriya." Izuku and Naruto both rejoiced and high-fived while Toshinori and Mirio chuckled. "Arigato gozaimasu, senpai," Izuku cried. Mirio smiled and shrugged. "No worries. I always knew Sir would like you." "Really?" Izuku beamed. "Thank you." The fiery presence of Endeavor was felt all around Yue. The thudding sound of the sole of his boots hitting the floor echoed through the halls. The flames decorating his costume flared even more than usual as a result of his anger. His anger now was not for his usual jealousy for the former #1 hero. It was on another different matter to which he needed to address right away. His flames flared even more once he spotted Toshinori's lame figure. He increased his pace as he approached the retired hero. "All Might!" His deep, hoarse, booming voice bellowed as he approached him. He was thinking he'd find him in his office, but seeing him out here already caused his emotions to erupt. The frail-looking man turned to look at him. "Ah, Endeavor. What are you doing here?" he said in a calm tone, already used to Endeavor's rambunctious nature. "I'm supposed to ask you that question." He shot at Toshinori. "Aren't you supposed to be in Tartarus?" Toshinori frowned. "I am a teacher here too. It's okay if I check up on my students from time to time." "Whatever." He immediately pushed that topic aside. "What's this I hear, All Might? The Hero League is starting to take decisions without my knowledge and consent," he growled. Toshinori's shadowed eyes narrowed, and he looked away. "What are you talking about, Endeavor?" "Don't play dumb. All Might." The volume of his voice had increased, and students passing by stopped to see what was going on. Looking back at Endeavor, he seemed like he was about to erupt, so All Might acted quickly and wisely. "Let's talk about this in my office." Once in his office, Endeavor continued. "I see it. There's a conspiracy now that I'm #1, right?" Toshinori sighed. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves now. It isn't like that." "Oh," he sneered. "Then explain the meeting you held with the Hero League secretly. That didn't include my presence, the #1. Toshinori sighed and sipped on his tea. He knew this would surely get out. "Endeavor, don't take this too personally, but honestly you could be a great pain and hard to deal with. I am aware of that. Yes, this is why you were not invited to the meeting. It was a very delicate situation, and we knew you won't take it well. I am the #1 hero. My presence was needed there." Toshinori raised a finger. "Not officially yet," he interjected. "You're still being monitored by the higher-ups, unfortunately. Things are going well for you. That doesn't concern me." He barked, and his anger flared up once again. He didn't care if he was #1 now, to be frank. All he wanted was to surpass All Might, and he still hadn't done that. Imagine, his dream was to surpass him and become #1, while All Might steps a rank down, but he All Might had to retire before he became #1. How revolting. Toshinori took another sip of his tea and glanced over at the one he offered Endeavor. It was untouched and cold. No, it couldn't be cold if there was a huge man burning at 100 degrees right by it. "From your reaction, I should guess you know about the topic of our meeting. You know very well that what you suggested is wrong." His voice lowered as his eyes narrowed at the former symbol of peace. "Those two boys cannot be trusted. They were interrogated by the Hero League and the higher-ups, themselves with Nighteye secretly using his quirk on them," he stated. "There's nothing to worry about, Endeavor." "How?" He slammed his fist on the table, and his cup of tea toppled over. "They had the power to destroy, and they took out those heroes." He clenched his fists. "If anything, they should be kept behind bars or even in Tartarus." He lost control of his quirk, and Tartarus wasn't a good idea. And why not? Because none of our tech could restrain them. Their powers are completely different from ours. Toshinori explained. He was against restraining them when the higher-ups had decided upon it. And it was Aizawa's idea to use them as bodyguards for the students of Class 1A since villain attacks towards them have been frequent. Toshinori was very much relieved for that moment, and he is forever grateful to Shoyuta Aizawa. Plus, they don't mean any harm. They both proved it to me. You're naive, All Might. If they wanted to destroy our city, they would have done it a week ago, he shouted at Endeavor, raising his voice which shocked the fiery hero. What came next was a round of bloody coughs. Endeavor reached out to help him calm down, handing him a hanky. Once he calmed down, he took in a few breaths before relaxing and continuing. The higher-ups have made their decision. The boys will be assisting UA's security and manpower in the Hero League. But to add to our manpower, they need to be heroes first. We're way ahead in that aspect. Naruto and Sasuke have already gotten their licenses and are about to begin work study. Once the city see them in action, they'll know they're safe, and to top it all, the once traumatized Class 1A are now doing their very best. They're more confident now. A smile graced Toshinori's face. Endeavor's mind then went straight to his son. Though he had not passed the pro license exam with an exceptional mark, he would be lying if he said he wasn't proud of him. He had gotten over the trauma and made it. He locked eyes with the frail man. So your own side motive was so these boys could instill courage in those kids. Toshinori was caught slightly off guard by the question. Though he wasn't surprised that Endeavor could depict that. What did you see in them? Came another question. The retired hero smiled to himself. Sasuke. He's a lot like young Todoroki, I must say. Toshinori began. The mention of his Endeavor, son's name, caused his eyebrows to crease. He's cool-headed, quiet, and very skilled in combat. As you saw on the news, he was able to restrain Naruto during his rampage. He was also able to come to my rescue in a nick of time. Toshinori added the last sentence in a soft tone. And Naruto, he's strong, selfless, kind, and compassionate. He had such a painful past, and I could tell by looking at him. Plus, he healed those heroes back into action even better than Recovery Girl would have. He has been bothered about the lives he took and couldn't bring back, though. Those rampages, Endeavor said. What will we do when it occurs again? You forget that there's nothing we can do. Naruto's power by far exceeds ours. It was only Sasuke, his friend, that was able to restrain him, so he's going to take care of that. So this Sasuke has the power to restrain him. Endeavor went into full thinking mode. It sounds like a strategy set up to protect the territory. They let the boy go on rampage, destroy their enemies, and when he's done, the other one restrains his power. He stated, They sound like weapons to me. Toshinori narrowed his eyes at Endeavor, but he couldn't help but agree with him. Though, I'm not sure that's how it actually works for them. They didn't reveal too much. But that is exactly what we're doing, using them as weapons. No. Toshinori interjected. At least the Hero League isn't. He sighed. I hope with their help, the new generation can be saved. So, what were your plans for work study? Sasuke asked Shoto as they sauntered down the hall after lunch. Shoto sighed. Honestly, I didn't want to consider this, but after giving it a lot of thought, I dashed Shoto. The young Todoroki groaned as the two turned slowly at the sound of the thundery voice. Is that? Yeah. My old man. Sasuke gazed at the fiery man as he approached them, a wide, creepy grin on his face. His build reminded him so much of the Raikage, except that he was armored with fire. Even though he looked pretty dumb right now, Sasuke knew he carried an air of importance around him. Once he got to them, he placed his large hand atop Shoto's head and ruffled the dual-colored hair. You have your pro license, so consider yourself a pro now. He informed Shoto, who just rolled his eyes to the ceiling and swatted the large hand off of his head, much to Sasuke's amusement. His amusement, however, died when his dark eyes met the teal ones that belonged to the Todoroki patriarch. The eyes bore straight into his, and the scowl on his face could melt an ice cube, but Sasuke looked back at him unfazed. What is your name? He asked Sasuke pointedly. The boy gave him a once-over. It's common courtesy to give your own name before asking someone else's. The fiery hero flared up. What? Do you know who I am? He barked. How old are you anyway? I'm not obliged to answer, Sasuke said with a straight face. Shoto smirked and snickered behind his hand, while the students present stared in awe at Sasuke's audacity. Endeavor growled, "He is like Shoto, all right. He's just a lot bolder. You little—" He raised his fist, but instead of making contact with flesh, it hit a custodian tool's cart, causing it to fall apart. "I see. He looked back at where he last saw the cart, and lo and behold, Sasuke was there. So, this was the power he used to save All Might. Endeavor had watched that particular scene on the news for more than 100 times after he recorded it. He was sure that this was just one of his many abilities, and Endeavor had to admit he had taken quite an interest in the young man, even though he was wary of him. The students around had gone quiet and watched silently, the tension between the Todoroki and the Uchiha. Sasuke looking bored and the Todoroki calculating. "You are a lot like I've heard, Uchiha Sasuke." Shoto was a little confused as to how his father knew Sasuke, but he kept his mouth shut anyway. The Uchiha survivor remained quiet, allowing for the fiery hero to keep talking. "I have had my eyes on you for a long time, and I must say, I am impressed." He turned to look at Sasuke, whose back was still turned. "You need to do work study. Join my agency along with my son," he said, and left, leaving Sasuke no space to oppose. Shoto walked up to Sasuke after his father left. "Your first meeting with my father was not what I imagined." Sasuke gave him a look. "So, what did you imagine?" He watched Shoto think for a few moments before sighing. "I didn't imagine anything." Sasuke just chuckled and shook his head as they walked on. "So let me guess, you chose to do work study at your father's agency." Shoto shrugged. "I have to do it in order to improve my quirk. I have to learn from the best." He cringed a little at that. "I wanted you to accompany me with Bakugo." "Bakugo?" Sasuke said the explosive boy's name. "Are you two on good terms?" "We spend time together in class. He is my friend." Sasuke blinked at Shoto's cluelessness, but who is he to judge? At times he could be clueless himself. "How's your wound, anyway?" Shoto asked, referring to Sasuke's wrist. "It's healed. It was just a small cut." Shoto looked ahead. That was really strange. A random person running around with a knife and hasn't been caught till now. Sasuke looked at his hand. Flashback, Sasuke sauntered over to the waster bin to dispose of his fortune cookie wrapper when he bumped into a girl. The next thing that happened was the small sting of pain he felt on his wrist. He hissed a little and activated his Sharingan on impulse. "Oh, sorry." The girl chirped and rushed away into the crowd before Sasuke could call back at her. Flashback, any strange, huh? He narrowed his eyes at the cut. The weekend came by swiftly, and Izuku and Naruto found themselves staring up at the Nighteye agency skyscraper, which had been an hour's ride away from UA by train. "All right, we're here," Mirio announced, and Izuku suddenly stiffened. Naruto looked on at him with a clueless expression. Nanny? What's up, Deku? Don't be so stiff. It's not good." Mirio admonished him. "I didn't get to tell you this before, but Sir is really strict." "I'm fully aware," Deku squeaked. His teeth chattered. "Even just watching him on TV, his sharp gaze through the screen made me shiver." "That's true, too." Mirio agreed, and Naruto's sweat dropped. The memory of being interrogated by Nighteye plagued his thoughts for a long time. He turned out to be a nice guy in the end, though. But Sir Nighteye has a different side to him than what you see on the press. Izuku gave him a questioning look. "If you don't want to be turned away, then before you finish talking to Sir today," he gave Izuku a smile, "you must make him laugh at least once." The green-haired kid shot Mirio an incredulous look. "What do you mean? Make him laugh?" "He may not look it, but Sir Nighteye holds humor in very high regard," he stated as they walked up the flight of stairs and into a hallway before stopping. He pointed ahead of them. "Now, he's just beyond that door. If you want to become strong, open it yourself." "Hi," Naruto and Izuku said, and pushed the door open, confident looks gracing their faces. "Sir, Uzumaki Naruto and the first year I told you about are here. Mirio announced. Sir Nighteye Agency. Just what kind of place is it? Izuku mused in admiration only for it to crumble at the sight of a blue-skinned girl wiggling her body, handcuffed to some kind of torture device. Tears poured out of her eyes from laughing so much and being tickled by the feather on the machine. Izuku blanched. Just what kind of place is this? Naruto blushed, his own perverted thoughts making him think otherwise. Stop! Please forgive me, she cried and laughed. What's going on? Izuku squeaked. It looks like his sidekick, Bubble Girl, couldn't make him laugh. Mirio stated, and Nighteye turned to look their way. The intensity of his stare made Izuku freeze where he stood. So this is All Might's former sidekick, Sir Nighteye, and his intense gaze in person. He pushed a hand through his messy hair. I want to be strong. It's because of my selfishness that I am here. Humor. I can do that. In order to become the #1 hero, he morphed his face to look exactly like All Might's. Izuku Midoriya. Mirio's eyes widened, and Naruto burst into a fit of laughter. It was so funny. Izuku had previously shown him his talent for making facial impressions, but this one was on a whole other level. He even did well with the voice impression. However, Nighteye didn't look too amused as they expected him to be. Are you trying ridicule All Might? He asked in a low, dangerous tone. Izuku felt like disappearing. Naruto chocked on his own laugh. It wasn't funny. Mirio stared in disbelief. He wanted to laugh back then, but he was too surprised to do so. But Sir Nighteye, what went wrong? Instead of looking amused, he looked enraged. You little... He began to approach the young pre-hero. You committed this outrage knowing that I was All Might's former sidekick. He grabbed hold of Izuku's head and used his index and thumb to set his eyelids apart, giving it a scrutinizing look. All Might's wrinkles are not like that. Everyone blinked. In his normal face, his wrinkles are 0.6 centimeters long. From the Silver Age, they were about 0.8 centimeters long. These days, even unlicensed merchandise specifies which age it's from. Izuku could see his reflection on the lens of Nighteye's glasses, but that wasn't what was important. Even how close Nighteye was to him didn't really bother him, but after looking around the office, he noticed that it was filled with All Might merchandise. His green pupils dilated. That's the 10th anniversary tapestry that wasn't for sale. I want it. He looked back at the man whose face was 5 inches away from his. There's no mistaking it. This guy's a serious All Might fan. Nighteye pulled back and gave him a once-over. Uzumaki Naruto, he said in a stern, grave voice, and Naruto jerked. Is this your +1? Ha. This is very unpleasant, he said, referring to the green-haired boy. Please leave. Naruto's eyes narrowed in displeasure, but before he could retort, Izuku beat him to it. The Vinegar Riverbank incident. He began. Are you not aware of that? He asked, and suddenly there was glint in the stern man's golden orbs. He saved a middle schooler whose quirk was to change the quality of water. After he saved the child, his eyes had narrowed because it stung with vinegar. I chose that face and used it here. Of course I know about that, Nighteye said easily. It happened before I teamed up with him. They also mentioned it on the Yomiuri TV program. A look back. Yes, that one. Izuku gushed. There weren't any villains involved, and it's boring compared to his other works. So it's not really talked about much on his fan sites, but I like it. Mirio and Naruto looked on as Izuku rambled on and on to Sir Nighteye, unsure of what to do or say about this, but they were happy that the two were flowing at least. That was until... Were you testing me? He asked, returning to his low, dangerous tone. Oh no! It's just that, because All Might is a teacher at our school, he chirped, flailing his arms around in defense. It's hard to speak much him, so I got too excited and couldn't help myself. Nighteye neared him again and readjusted his glasses. The crux of that incident was the family life of the middle schooler. That's right, he agreed. Whether you know that or not makes a big difference in the weight of the words. Mirio tapped Naruto and tilted his hand towards Bubble Girl's direction, and Naruto followed him. Together they set free and helped her stand. "Mirio, what's up with that kid?" she mumbled. "He's one of my underclassmen, right?" Mirio answered with a smile and looked over at them. "Even though you didn't make Sir laugh, this is a pretty good impression, Midoriya." Nighteye twiddled his fingers in as he hummed in thought. "I see. So you want to do work-study here in order to become stronger?" "Yes, sir. Please allow it. You have a contract from the school dash." "Yes, sir. I brought it with me." Izuku cut in a jumpy tone. "You will not interrupt me when I'm speaking." Nighteye warned and Izuku stiffened. "No, sir." Nighteye gave Izuku's contract a scrutinizing look as he took out his stamp, ready to make this official. "Once my stamp is on that paper, the work-study contract becomes official." "Yes, sir." Izuku bowed. The work studies are not like the week-long internships of normal workplaces that you can participate casually. He explained, "You must work here for at least a month, and of course, you will be paid. As a first year who still has a lot of classes, you will also rack up a lot of absences, and you will not be able to continue on this path on the same level as your classmates." "I understand that, but—" Izuku looked on at Sir Nighteye. "If I match my pace with everyone else, then I can't be the top." Nighteye narrowed his eyes at him, and Naruto smirked at Izuku's determination. And with that, Nighteye raised his arm with the stamp, ready to make this work-study official for Izuku when BM! His stamp made contact with the table instead of the paper. Izuku blanched. You missed. Because I don't feel like stamping it." "What?" Izuku watched as he repeatedly stamped on the wood instead of the paper. "I understand the merits of working here for you," he began to say. "But what merit is there in my employing you? With 2 sidekicks and 1 work-study student, this agency runs smoothly, so to add you, what benefit is there in that?" He questioned the green-haired kid. "How can you contribute to society? How can you contribute to others? In order to be acknowledged, you must make those things clear." Izuku's green orbs dilated. Naruto's expression hardened, and Mirio and Bubble Girl exchanged looks. All Might showed it with his power and humor. He gave hope to those who lived in fear of crime. That's why the people acknowledged him. Naruto hummed silently to himself. "Acknowledge, huh? How can I contribute to society?" Izuku began to ask himself as Sir Nighteye stood from his seat. He pushed his chair back under the table and gave Izuku a hard gaze. "In order to show how you can benefit my company, you should show it with your actions and not your words." He held up the stamp in his right hand. 3 minutes. Try taking the seal from me in 3 minutes or less. If you want to work as a hero under me, then stamp this seal yourself. "H-ha!" Izuku stuttered. "I'm saying, even though you don't possess a single funny bone, I'm giving you a chance." "Well, do you think I'm a nice guy?" he said, giving Izuku a pointed stare. "You guys can leave us for now, and be back in the next 3 minutes." "Yes, sir," Naruto, Mirio, and Bubble Girl said in unison. "That's not very energetic." "Yes, sir," they said louder and exited the office. Naruto gave Izuku one last look before he left. Once the door closed, Nighteye glazed over Izuku's form. "I cannot accept you as All Might's successor. Come on, Naruto. Midoriya's got potential. He'll make it." Mirio tried pacifying Naruto as they walked down the hall. Naruto huffed. Why do they have to give him such a stupid test? Why is Nighteye being so harsh on him? Databeo. The future is dark, and we need good heroes to help destroy the darkness. You should know that. Mirio sighed. But I guess you are right. Against Sir Nighteye's quirk, Midoriya doesn't stand a chance. Did Sir Nighteye give you any practical tests like that too, Mirio? Bubble Girl asked him, and he shook his head. I was just called for like Naruto here. Whoa. He must really like you both. Liking someone isn't an excuse to discriminate others. Naruto said bitterly, causing Mirio and Bubble Girl to look his way. His countenance had transformed. He looked dark and angry, but didn't emit any dangerous intent of any kind. What Nighteye was doing to Izuku sparked up an anger in Naruto. I looked into Nighteye's eyes, and I saw some sort of anger. Like something wrong had happened, like a decision wasn't taken his way. He clenched his fists. If picking one person over others just 'cause he doesn't like them is his way of building a better hero society, then I won't work with him, Databeo. The halls echoed Naruto's last words and went quiet after that. Mirio and Bubble Girl gave him stunned looks as he sighed and looked away, unclenching his fists. "I need some air," he said and stepped out for a bit. The silence in the hall lasted for a few minutes before Bubble broke it with a wow. What he said made a lot of sense, but what brought it up anyway? He and Midoriya are close friends, right? Mirio narrowed his eyes. But I doubt he just did it because they're friends. I think he does that for everyone. Bubble Girl chuckled. "He has a really great personality," she said and added, "He looks your age. He is my age." "Then how come you're not classmates? Oh, maybe the higher-ups wanted them to go through the process." Bubble Girl mused and Mirio shrugged. There'd be a lot of questions if they just jumped into final year like that. Getting into UA without doing the test already raises a lot of questions, right? Bubble Girl hummed in agreement, keeping silent for a little while before a question pops in her head. "How did you guys meet anyway?" Mirio's expression changed a little, but then he smiled. "It's a really long story." Flashback. Nighteye had introduced Mirio to Naruto and Sasuke during the weekend. He had recognized Naruto immediately as the beast on TV and become alert, but he didn't show it anyway. "Oh, hey-oh." Naruto greeted him and stretched out his hand for a handshake. "Uzumaki nerda desu yoroshiku, Databeo." He grinned and Mirio mirrored it. Sasuke was more introvert, but he was polite enough. They spent their time on a tour. Mirio perceived that Naruto was a good-hearted guy who loved making new friends and was very good at it. He was also very humorous. Mirio had not laughed so hard in his life. They had stopped by a ramen shop and ate to their fill while Sasuke just rolled his eyes, probably asking the gods why they had to double his trouble. Finally, when they got back to base, Mirio asked to fight Naruto. Of course, dumb Naruto didn't want to fight under the notion that they are friends. "It's just a spar, you idiot." Sasuke groaned and Naruto grinned. "Yeah, but don't hold back, okay?" Mirio added. He wanted to see the limits to Naruto's power, and his quirk was best suited for it. "Are you sure?" Naruto looked surprised, and Mirio smiled confidently. Then he looked at him inquisitively when he saw him raise a hand seal. "What's that?" "The confrontation seal. Back at home, sparring is a thing of peace, Databeo," he stated. "So the seal shows that whatever the outcome of this fight is, we leave in peace." Their fight lasted for hours and hours. Naruto had not expected to be like Obito's jutsu, and worse is that it didn't work the way Obito's worked. Mirio was able to land it on him in his normal mode, forcing him to enter Sage mode. Even at that, all he could do was block some attacks that were not blindsided. To beat Mirio, he needed to be faster than fast. So for the first time since he got here, he entered Six Paths mode and finally took Mirio down with his speed. They both panted for air, worn out from their fight. Naruto was crouched on the ground while Mirio was flat on his back. Naruto's power was immense. He looked up and spotted Naruto smiling above him, showing the confrontation seal again. Mirio sat up and stood to his feet with the help of Naruto. The confrontation seal is actually half of the unison seal. Naruto gestured for Mirio to do the seal, and then he places over Mirio's and grinned. Mirio couldn't help but smile, but the wariness didn't disappear. Flashback. "Iani, I'm sorry, Naruto. You're a good guy, but I can't just accept you." His head whipped to the glass door as it got pushed apart by Naruto. The blonde bolted into down the halls, and it took Mirio and Bubble Girl a second to figure out that 3 minutes was up. They followed after him. Naruto pushed Nighteye's door open with anger burning in his eyes, ready to lash out at him, but his expression softened when he saw Izuku in a crouched position with the stamp in his hand. The green-haired kid looked up at Naruto shocked, but then smiled. The blonde couldn't help but smile back and sigh in relief. "Wow, You guys got a place to do work study. Denki gushed at Naruto and Izuku. Congratulations, Dekukuin and Naruto. Ochako said with a genuine happiness in her voice, making Izuku blush and Naruto grin. Thank you, Databeo. What about you guys? He asked. Well, fourth kind doesn't do work studies. Kirishima sighed. And who cares about work studies anyway? It's probably just another nightmare. Mineta grumbled. Oh, is this because of your internship with my lady? Tsu giggled, and Mineta sealed before hiding his face. No, don't remind me of my past. He bawled as everyone laughed at his antics. Naruto looked at Sasuke, who was sitting by him. And you, Sasuke, where are you doing work study? I'm going along with Shoto. Oh, so the rumors were true. You're doing work study with Endeavor. Mina chirped, and everyone stared wide-eyed at Sasuke. The number one hero, Endeavor. Sato mumbled, holding a plate of cake, to which Denki secretly kept picking out of. Who's Endeavor? Naruto asked, and everyone looked like he had wet his pants. What? He frowned. You don't know Endeavor? Zero asked in disbelief, and watched Naruto shake his head. Endeavor, formerly the number 2 hero and owner of the Endeavor agencies. He is known for his effectiveness and hard work. He is also Shoto's father. Tokoyami explained. Was all Naruto could say. How come I never met him that day? The next day, Izuku, Naruto, and Mirio patrolled the streets together. Mirio explained that once they put their hero suits and go out into the streets, they are heroes. Though everything was going well, Naruto could sense that something bothered Izuku. He had asked what was wrong, but Izuku had waved it off, using it was nothing to worry about. Naruto knew better than to believe that lie. What did Nighteye tell him, Databeo? As he mused in his thoughts, a girl who had run straight out of an alley bumped into Izuku, and he was quick to catch her. Are you okay? He asked, holding onto the girl, but it seemed like she didn't want to be held. Still, he managed to hold her. Can you walk? He asked in a soothing voice and felt her tremble. It's okay. She's fine. A man interjected, walking out of the shadows of the alley. She really likes to play around a lot. They all looked up at the man and froze. Shy Hasai's Chisaki. Naruto narrowed his eyes just a fraction. Earlier, Nighteye had informed them of a young villain group leader. How they are under constant surveillance and yet, as he, Naruto, perceived, are still able to cause trouble. Izuku clenched his teeth and stitched his brows together as sweat rolled down his temple. The man Nighteye is after. Mirio was quick to cover up Izuku's expression by covering it with his hoodie. Your hoodie came off again. Maybe the sizing's off. Naruto watched as Izuku looked away with an apologetic look. If we slip up and make them suspicious, Nighteye's work will be impeded, Databeo. Mirio, already thinking ahead, stepped up and started a conversation with the villain leader. It's all right. We're sorry for bumping into her. Oh, with that lovely mask. You must be from the Hasaikai, right? He smiled. You guys are famous around here. Yes. Don't worry about the mask. I'm sensitive to filth. Chisaki smiled back. It's my first time seeing you 3 heroes. Naruto's lips thinned. He's on his guard, huh? We're still students. Naruto spoke up with his signature grin. We're new and still kinda nervous, Databeo. Yeah. Mirio nodded in agreement. Phew, good call. Now come on, partner. Let's head towards a future we haven't seen yet. Hi. Izuku was about to leave with everyone, but the girl had tightened her hold on him. Don't go, she whispered to him, and trembled even more. Izuku's sweat dropped. Chisaki narrowed his eyes, and Mirio and Naruto sterned their gazes. This isn't good. Naruto mused and wondered what Izuku was going to do now. Izuku smiled nervously. Your daughter seems scared. Chisaki narrowed his eyes at Izuku's statement. It's because she got a scolding, he quipped. Naruto could see Mirio struggling himself with decision-making. The girl would not let go of Izuku, and now Izuku seemed invested in this. He held on to the girl's arms. Her bandages don't look like they're from playing too much. She falls a lot. For such a small child to be trembling like this without making a sound, Izuku ignored his lie and shot him a glare. I don't think it is normal. Chisaki shot back his own dangerous look. Please don't impose your own normal on other people's families. To everyone else, that statement could have just been a polite remark, but between him and Izuku, it came as a warning. Every family has different dispositions, right? Mirio said, keeping a cheery tone, but behind his eyes, Naruto could read the clear message. He wished Izuku would get it too. He sighed. At times like this, he wished Ino was here. He watched Izuku and Chisaki stare off for a moment. If they continued like this, Chisaki was going to figure them out. He looked Mirio's way and saw that the senior did same. Good. They were thinking the same thing. It's unnatural for a hero to abandon a child. Once we put on our suits and go out into the streets, we're heroes. What are you doing to this child? Izuku asked Chisaki with a pointed look. The air became tense as silence hung in the air between the four of them. Chisaki held down his head with a shadowed expression before lifting his head and sighing. Geez, heroes are so sensitive to the subtle signs in people, huh? Fine, he smiled, surprising them a bit. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He's probably got something planned. I've got to keep my eyes open in case. It's embarrassing to talk about it. People are watching here, so will you come this way with me? He said, gesturing to the alley behind him before leading the way. Naruto looked on to his partners and nodded at them, showing that he was ready. They followed after him and listened as he spoke. Actually, recently, he began. I've had lots of problems with Eri. She just keeps defying me no matter what I say. Abuse? Izuku mused. Parenting, huh? It must be very hard. Mirio smartly added. Yes, Chisaki sighed. Children are hard to understand. Then he reached for the glove on his left hand, a gesture that only Eri noticed. They feel like they can and will be someone. She froze at the hidden look he sent her. They seriously think that. She immediately released herself from Izuku's hold and ran up to Chisaki's side. Izuku was confused. What had just happened? Why did Eri suddenly run to him? Eri. Naruto already got what was going on. I hate this bastard. Done with your tantrum already? He asked in a convincingly calm voice, and she nodded but with a clench of her fists. Be but, Eri. Izuku looked both confused and worried. What had gotten into her? She's always like this. Chisaki said to them, I'm sorry you had to listen to my problems too. Sorry for the trouble. He bowed, and with that, he left together with her. Wait. Izuku attempted to go after them, but Mirio stopped him, and this time, his smile was gone. We're not going after them, he said sternly, but as quietly as he could. Eri gave Izuku one last look before she, and Chisaki, disappeared into the darkness of the alley. Why? He showed off his killing intent to pull her back to him. If we chase them too far, it'll be even harder to catch him. Izuku felt a reassuring hand on his shoulder. We'll ask Nighteye what to do, and then we'll get him Databeo. He grinned so wide that his eyes closed up, and Izuku managed a small smile. He pulled up his hood and looked into the darkness as the rain started to pour down. The young people these days are sicker than ever. Chisaki grumbled as he walked down the hall to the lab. Chrono, prepare the bath. He instructed his assistant, who walked on behind him, holding Eri in his arms. Yes, sir. I am sorry, boss. An attendant frantically apologized. I just took my eyes off of her for 1 second, and she escaped_. He didn't get to finish his pathetic excuse after bursting into scattered flesh and blood once Chisaki laid his hand on him. And clean that up, he instructed after as they walked on, uncaring of what had just occurred. Eri covered up her ears and clenched her teeth. Every bit of this place disgusted and scared her. Yes, sir. This is maddening. They're all sick with hero syndrome. He growled. Sorry, it was an accident. Mirio apologized. I never thought we'd run into him. No, This was my fault. Nighteye interjected. We could have avoided this if I had used foresight on you beforehand. Anyway, I'm glad you're all right. Bubble Girl added. If you had acted carelessly and made him suspicious, you could have gotten in danger. It didn't seem that scary. Izuku pouted. The other day, as a band of robbers was escaping, there was a truck accident that involved some people. Nighteye adjusted his glasses. The people involved were Chisaki and other people from the Hasaikai, but there were 0 casualties. Those from the band of robbers felt intense pain and passed out, but for some reason, they were uninjured, and even chronic ailment like rheumatism and cavity were completely gone. They thought this was due to Chisaki's quirk. But because they caught the villains and no one was injured, there wasn't anything to accuse him of. But they said that all the money that was stolen burned up and there was nothing left. Bubble Girl added. So in other words, these guys are just really good at cleaning after themselves. Naruto evaluated, causing Bubble Girl to nod. The police found no sign of a crime in that regard, but either way, it seemed suspicious, so Nighteye agencies started watching them. Oh, right, sir. Mirio said, suddenly remembering something. I guess this is a lucky break, but we got some new intel, right? Chisaki has a daughter. Nighteye's eyes narrowed. A daughter? He called her Eri. Izuku explained. Her arms and legs were wrapped in bandages. I don't know anything about her, but she was asking for help. If there was any way we could protect her. At this, Nighteye eyed Izuku sharply. Don't think so arrogantly. Nighteye chided him. Haste makes waste. If you rush to chase after them, then they'll be more likely to escape. You're not so special that you can save anyone at any time you want. Currently, we are requesting the other agencies team up with us. Izuku made a noise at the back of his throat and bit his bottom lip, feeling remorse for what he had said. Naruto did not like the way Nighteye reprimanded Izuku, but he had to admit that he was right. Kakashi would tell him the same thing whenever he tried to take rash actions. First, we predict what our opponent will do. Nighteye continued, and after analyzing it, arrange for the most complete preparations possible. He gave Izuku a pointed stare. This world isn't so lenient that you can save her with good intentions. The truly wise villains hide in the shadows. Know that sometimes things will take time. He disconnected his gaze from Izuku and made to leave with Bubble Girl. The two of you should go back to the office today. He instructed. Bubble, let's go. Hi. And just like that, work-study ended, leaving an unpleasant feeling down the pit of Izuku's stomach. The doors to a dark laboratory opened, and Chisaki stepped in with Eri in Chrono's arms. Eri, don't disobey me anymore, he said in a tired tone, like he had said it for one too many times. He gestured towards the one seat in the lab. You're the crux of my plan. With you, I will take my rightful place as the new Emperor of Darkness and wipe out the Hero Society. He stated as Eri took a seat. Please don't make me get my hands dirty. At 12 midnight, Yue slept while the security stayed alert. However, an individual was still able to make an entrance. Naruto snored as he slept soundly, as always without any idea of what was going on. The dark figure walked quietly down the halls, its form changing and growing. Naruto turned in his sleep till he was on his face. The figure now stopped after walking for a while and turned to face a door. It neared the door and opened it slowly before stepping into the room. Naruto muttered incoherent words in his sleep and hugged his pillow with a stupid smile on his face when he felt a rough tap on his back. He groaned and moved and backed his sleep assaulter in response. There was a sigh and rougher tapping. Hey, Naruto! Wake up! The grumpy voice of Sasuke spoke. Naruto immediately turned at the familiar voice. He opened one sleepy eye. Sasuke? The dark-haired boy frowned. What happened? Aizawa-sensei's asking for us. He answered easily and Naruto sighed. But it's midnight. What the hell does he want, Databeo? Just stop being a pain and get up. Naruto groaned. Okay. I'll come. He went silent for a while, and Sasuke glared at him in impatience. He then made a move to tap him again, but Naruto caught his wrist. "What are you dash?" He wasn't able to finish the sentence as he was pulled down onto Naruto's bed and pinned on his back. Naruto wasn't smiling anymore. In fact, the glare on his face rivaled the one Sasuke previously had on. The uchiha was just shocked until, "Sasuke Uchiha doesn't call anyone sensei." Naruto said in a dangerous tone. Dark pupils dilated as blue orbs bore through. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" The imposter smirked before molting his form. Naruto watched with disgust as the shape shifter morphed into her true form. He quickly took hold of her newly formed wrist and tightened his hold. "Now, answer me. You're even hotter up close." She complimented him with a giggle, and Naruto rolled his eyes mostly so he could avoid seeing how her breast jiggled as she laughed. "You're quite interesting. How did you know it was me?" "Well, for one, I know my best friend, and two, I'm a shapeshifter myself, so there you have me." He tightened his hold. "Now answer my question." She giggled and licked her lips. Naruto could see her fangs. He quickly took note of that. "I'm Toga. You've caught my interest since the first day I saw you. That's all." Naruto blinked. "Really? It's gotta be more than that." She giggled even more. "You're funny. I like that." She looked into his eyes. "Have you ever bled before?" "The hell are you a skin me, Databeo?" She smirked. "Cute. Go out with me." "I have a girlfriend." He deadpanned. "And besides, I don't date girls 3 years younger." She sighed. "Well, she's lucky now, isn't she?" She pouted. "Sorry, cutie, but I have to go. Don't even think of escaping. I've got 2 of my shadow clones guarding this room." He warned, and she giggled. "Clones, that's nice." She smiled suggestively, and he blushed in embarrassment. "They're not for that." He shot at her, and she laughed. "I'm kidding." And with that, she started to mold away. "It was nice meeting you. Uzumaki Naruto." She literally slipped from Naruto's fingers, and she was gone. Naruto gritted his teeth. The bad guys are finally making a move, Databeo. Thanks for watching part 2 of What If Naruto and Sasuke Teleport in My Hero Academia Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Animate23 for more exciting What If scenario and anime content. Hit the notification bell icon so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.